Hello everyone, welcome to my channel and today we are going to cover the topic Greek city states. Now why we are discussing this topic is very important because to understand the political philosophy of Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, we can't directly jump onto their political philosophy because when we are understanding or interpreting certain philosophers and their ideas, we need to understand the context of the place where they used to live, right? And because where they used to live, they have given their political philosophy based on the region, right? So we need to understand why, what was these Greek city state, why they wrote it, what was Athens, what was Sparta, etc. So here in this video, you're going to find the answer of your all problems which you are not able to get it. Okay, so let's start with that topic, the Greek city states. Now, the Greek city states, if we need to understand the history of ancient Greece, we need to understand the four periods. The ancient Greek is divided into four periods: the Messenian period, the Dark Age, the Archaic Age, the Classical Age. And the main emphasis here is to be on the end of Dark Age and beginning of the Archaic Age, because this was the period when the Greek city-states came into emergence or existence. During the end of the Dark Age, the Greek peninsula was suffering with the population explosion, and because of it, it began sending out colonies to settle in the nearby coastal areas, and because of which the Greek city-states came into existence. I hope it is clear. Now, the Archaic Age and the Classical Age can be together called as an Hellenic period, Hellenic Age. I will tell you it about this later. Now, this, if you see this map over here, it is some of the Greek city-state which exist. So this is Aegean Sea, and this, let me just take out the pen. Yep. So this is Aegean Sea, and around this, if you look, this is the Mediterranean Sea, right? And these are some very, popular city-states. Athens, Sparta, it's quite important. Athens and Sparta are quite important to understand this theory of Plato and Socrates. Now, we'll understand about the Hellenic culture, which I was saying, right? So, in order to understand about city, states, etc., we need to understand who was Helen, what is this Hellenic culture, and if you are good in locating maps or countries, there's this country named the Hellenic Republic. Why the name that is, again, a question which I'm going to explain just now. So basically, who was Helen? Helen was a mythological ancestor of all Greeks. All Greeks consider Helen as their ancestor, as their god. And who was Helen? Helen was basically a son of Deucalion and Pyrrha. Who were Deucalion and Pyrrha? They were the survivor of the Great Flood. You can understand this concept as it is quite similar to the Noah's Ark concept of Christianity. Okay, so therefore they are considered to be holy. Deucalion and Pyrrha are considered holy, and their son was Helen. And Helen, everybody consider as their ancestor, all Greeks specifically. Okay, so Helen further had three children: Aeolus, Doris, and Xuthus. Xuthus as for the two children, Ion and Archelaus. Although Aeolus, Doris both have also their descendants, but we are going to refer here because the Ionian police, and they were quite popular during that period of time. So Xuthus, there was not that much of material on Xuthus, but on Ion police or Ionians, there are many things referred here. So now the people, so they are the descendants of the, further we'll discuss about the city states, they are the descendants of that. Now, all the Greeks, though divided by these descendants, but they are united by their culture, which is the Hellenic culture they called. They call themselves as Hellenists and their land as Hella. Okay, I hope the concept of Hellenic identity and all is cleared, because Helen was there. All the Greeks follow considered him as their mythological ancestor. Therefore, this is our country, Hellenic Republic. Therefore, it derives their name as Hellenic. Why? I hope that you get all the answer and all the extra information which I am trying to give you here. Now, moving on, we have Archipolis. Now, before understanding all of this, I would like to understand you about the Aeolic polis, Doric polis, Ionic polis. Now, we have Aeolic polis as a Aeolus. Their descendants formed an Aeolic polis, and one of the quite prominent city was Thebes. You can refer to a little 10 seconds back, and there was this city-state name as Thebes. Then Doric polis consists of many city-states such as Sparta, Olympia, Corinth, main emphasis on Sparta. And Ionic polis also has many city-states, but one of them was Athens. So now consider it. Ionic polis, the descendants of Ionians, uh, it has Athens, and Doris descendants, Doric polis has Sparta. So now Athens and Sparta, quite important to understand all of this history and all. Okay, now the polis, which is the city state, was not only a city. It was not only a city. It has this asti, city ko they used to say asti. They were all surrounded by farms, which was known as Khora, and this is the Archeopolis. Basically, they had this fortified hills, okay, which was known as Archeopolis. And this is the basically structure which I was trying to refer here. An archipolis where public meetings, etc. All this happens. Shops, agora. Agora is basically the marketplace. If you can see over here, agora. There were slaves actually quite prevalent. This was all that. And I'm so sorry. This is the Yes, so this is the fortified hill, which is known as Archeopolis. Here is the Archeopolis. There were public meetings, soldiers, all of there, agora, khora even, and this is the Archeopolis, which is a fortified hill. Now, here one very beautiful concept emerges: the concept of citizenship. This is the Greek city-states basically introduced the concept of citizenship. What was citizenship? Basically, if I talk about the present-day concept of citizenship, it was quite different from that. All of the people were not granted citizenship. Mark it. The people who are men, first of all, and secondly, they are big landlords and they are very rich people, only get the right to have only get a right to be called as a citizen of a certain polis. Females, slaves, and even foreigners, who they refer to as metics, were excluded from the citizenship. Okay, so this concept is also clear. Now we are going to discuss about the concept of king, oligarchy, council, etc. So the city-state had a king named as Basileus, but they decided that this concept is not working. They said that this concept of Basileus is not working. We should not take a single monarch as a leader. So they switched to oligarchic form of government, which is archons. Who are archons? Archons are basically, please remember this thing, please guys. There were earlier three archons, like three people used to have all the political power. But gradually with the shift, they decided, and there was this process of electing archons and all, and with many population explosion, there was this test to pass this, and with there was this reform which led to the reduction of the period of that particular test, which led to many archons in the city state. So they made a reform that not three, but there would be multiple of three archons. 9 archons will be there. Yani 9 oligarchs will hold the political power. I hope this is clear. Now, who is Areopagus? What is Areopagus? Areopagus was basically a council of archons. Basically, those who will advise the archons. There will be a council who will advise the archons. So I have this concept of oligarchs, Basileus, Areopagus, clear ho gaya aapko. Basileus was basically a monarchy or king. Monarchy से oligarchic form of government में transition हुआ. Now, by the end of the classical era, sorry, by the beginning of the classical era, there were around 1500 city states. 1500. Okay, so some city states which I have showed in the map, or some city states which are naming right now, there's some of it, like really some of it. There were many 1500 city states. Okay. hope this is clear. Now, we're going to talk about the major thing which this video is dedicated is Athens and Sparta. So see, Spartan history, etc. is important, but for this video, we are going to specifically focus on Athens. Why Athens? You'll get to know in just a couple of minutes. Now, if you see this map, Athens and allied states, these are Athens and allied states, orange one. Sparta and allied states, these are Sparta and Athens, and these were neutral. So ignore the neutral one. Keep your eyes on the Spartan and Athenian states. Clear? Now, let's understand this concept. Fine. Please remember this map. Okay, just memorize it. Yeah. So what happened is, what was Athens? See, Athens has a democratic institution for more than 200 years. But what makes Athens Athens? It was earlier in the initial period when the Greek city-states were expanding, etc. Athens was not well recognized. See, as I said, the Ionic, it comes in the Ionic polis, right? But the Ionians were considered more privileged and more very powerful and all. But Athens under the Ionian was very less recognized city-state. But it though had a large population, around 50,000 citizens, and nearly in any other city-state it was around only 10,000 citizens. And if I talk about the territory or the land, etc., the territory of Athens was around 2,000 square kilometers, but generally in other city-states it was around 52,000 square kilometer or 100 square kilometer. So it was quite a big place, Athens, but it was not in that picture now. But what happens is, during this period, one more civilization was thriving, which was the Persian Empire. Yes, Persia was expanding its power, it was getting powerful, and it came into conflict with Greeks specifically because it thought that it can acquire the city-states. But yes, they were wrong. There was this Greco-Persian war where Athens helped the Ionians to defeat the Persian Empire. And remember, Athens has a very fabulous naval strength. Navy. The navy was extraordinary. And when I talk about Sparta, Sparta has a very unique and very powerful land system. Land system that their soldiers, their land soldiers are very strong. Okay. Now, Athens and Sparta had their significant strength. Now, what happens is, as Athens helped Ionians, before helping, after helping the Persians, before helping the Ionians to defeat Persians, it was believed that there was democratic institutions set up, and it is believed that earlier Athens was not that powerful, not well recognized, but after the democratic institution was set up, suddenly it became very powerful, very well recognized, and as they helped the Ionians to defeat the Persians, they were also became more well recognized. Okay, so around 470s period they defeated the Persians. Now what happened is, after they defeated the Persians, for the one time, after that several skirmishes happened, and there was this Delirious king of Persian Empire. They send their naval soldiers through navy to attack Athens, etc. But Athens, because Athens had a very good naval strength, they defeated them. And when they defeated the Persia, they formed their league, a sort of their empire, but not empire, mind it. It was a league, Delirian League, in 478 BCE. What was Delirian League? Delirian League was basically key-headed by Athens, where they decided that they will provide protection to other city-states who will join the league. This was the condition, like, you join the league, we'll provide you the protection. But gradually this Delirian League was turning into an Athenian empire, more like an empire. Mind it, Sparta was being very jealous of it. Okay. Now, what happened is, in 449 around, after several wars, etc., there was this peace treaty signed between the two, the Persians and the Greeks, etc. And this was known as the Calliculus Peace Treaty, which basically declared that there would be no war. The Persians had recognized the independence of all the Greek city-states and the Asia Minor. So this was the end of the Greco-Persian War. After Greco-Persian War, was Athens flourished. It has all the success, all the limelight. It became a very, very big city state, well recognized. It was the zenith of Athens spirit. Right now, when we talk about Athens, we say that it's a democratic institution. Democracy flourished there. But when democracy came, this is a very significant question. Some say that it was Solon's economic reform, and some say it was Clisthenes reforms. So who was Solon, who was Clisthenes? I'm just going to explain you. So Solon was a chief magistrate. As I explained you earlier, like in the previous slide about the archons and their councils, the Areopagus. So there was one more post, which was the archon Eponymus. Archon Eponymus was a chief magistrate of that particular city state, right? So Solon was a chief magistrate, archon Eponymus. Fine. He What was prevalent in Athens during that period of time was that there was a system of tenant farming, which was also quite prevalent in the British colonial period in India as well. So what was happening in this tenant farming thing, that all the people consider, like all the farmers used to cultivate in the land, and their duty was to give around 1/6 of their produce to the landlords from where they get their loans, etc. Now if they fail to give that, so if they fail to repay their loan, etc., they had to sell themselves or their family members as slaves, because during that period of time, minded slavery was quite prevalent. He did what Solon did: cancelled all these debts and forbade any creditor from selling anyone who was in the debt and into slavery. So it was all nullified. The slavery system was nullified. Now what he introduced are four property classes. Four classes he introduced: 50, 500 measurement, 300 measurement, 200 to 300 measurement, and less than 200 measurement. What is this measure? So one measure consists of 38 kgs and 15 liters of food or drinks, etc. Jo bhi. Right. So the first property class will be the men. They will get 500 measurements. So as I said, one measure is equal to 38 kgs and 15 liters. Now multiplied it with 500, so they are the 500 measure, very rich, wealthy people, and they name it as Pentakosi Omidinami. See, I'm sorry for my pronunciation again. Now the second class was the 300 measurement. They were known as hippies, and they need to provide cavalry. Okay, 200 to 300 measurement, they were zeugati, and they will be the infantry men. When they really broke out of war, etc., they will be the infantry. They provide the infantry. And less than 200 measurement, they were very poor people. They basically led the manual labor, and basically you can consider all the tenant farmers come under this measure. Now he also reformed the political system. As I said, there were archons. There were 9 archons, 9 oligarchs, kings. Now he said that the first 2 class will choose the 9 archons. So now we have the representation of the first 2 class. Then he introduced one more political institution, which was known as Bowl. What is this Bowl? This Bowl was very similar to the earlier in the slide we discussed the Areopagus, which was a council. Right, so introduced a council who will advise the archons, and the members of the bowl will be chosen by the first 3 classes. So now all the 3 classes are represented, left the 4th class. Now one of the significant political institution which he formed was the ecclesia. Ecclesia you can consider as a general assembly of today's time, where all the people had their representation, where they discuss about the government policies and what policies to be implemented, what are the people's problem, and from the lower to lower strata, people get the representation over there. And note it, like after some time, they also provided money to attend ecclesia, because it was believed that the poor people was not very much interested in attending the meetings of ecclesia, because they think that if I attend one day, my one day income will go on waste. So what the kings or the archons decided was that we'll provide you for your one day wage if you will attend the ecclesia. Okay, so I hope you get the point. The bowl, the ecclesia, these all were the political institutions in the Athens, and through these Solon's economic political reforms, I guess all the classes were getting representation. Right, now we'll study about the Clisthenes recognition of tribes, which is also considered to be significant for introduction of democratic institution in Greek. Who was Clisthenes? Clisthenes basically was a person. There was no specific category or it is given about Christmas. But what he did was that, as I from the very starting of the video, I explained you about the four descendants of Helen. Basically three, but if I exclude Zeus, but include their sons, so there were four descendants of the Helen. They were known as tribes, like they formed their respective tribes: the Aeolian tribes, the Doric tribes, the Ionian tribes, the Archean tribes. Right. So he said that instead of classifying the tribes into four category or four tribes, we can organize into 10 new tribes. He introduced 10 new tribes and excluded that 4 new tribes and 10 new tribes. Okay, so as I said, Athens, there was this city in Athens named Attica, so he implemented this in Attica. What he said was that 10 new tribes should be introduced, and these tribes should be based on demes. Matlab, each tribe will the members of the tribe should be based on the demes. Demes were the place of residence. So one tribe consists of the places of residence where the people used to live. That places will consider as a tribe. Okay. Now there were 139 demes in Attica. Now he said that rather than including all 139 demes, we'll divide the demes into three groups, which was coastal area, the people live in coastal, the people living in inland, and the people living in city. Yeah. So the people living in all these particular three areas, coastal, inland, and cities, they will form the 139 demes. And now the people living in coast will be divided into 10 groups. The people living in inland will divide into 10 groups, and the people living in city will divide into 10 groups. Right? So we have 10 groups, which will together forming a one deme. Okay, so 30 groups will be forming one deme, and they have 139 demes. I hope this is clear. Now, how will these 10 tribes, as discussed over here, that he said that 10 new tribes, how will these 10 new tribes will be formed? So he said that one tribe from 10 tribes will be formed, will have three groups from one each team. So what he said, we will form groups. How the groups will be formed? First, um, um, one group, as I said, coast will consist of 10 groups, inland will consist of 10 groups, city will consist of 10 groups. So one group from coast, one group from inland, one group from city will together, let's name it as A, B, and C. Okay, so A, yeah, so A, B, and C, A coast, B inland, and C city groups, A group, B group, C group will form one tribe out of the 10 tribes as discussed upper. Okay, so one tribe out of the 10 tribe will consist of one group from each demes. Okay, one tribe from the 10th tribe will consist of one group of each demes. I hope the Clisthenes recognition of tribes is clear. So in this way, he said that we all get the representation. Yes. So he said that we all get the representation in this way. Now, one more thing about Athens I would like to describe you here, or about Greek city-state, was that homosexuality was very acceptable there. They basically promoted that the older man should come in a relation with the younger man, because the older one with much experience will able to guide the younger man. The women and men relation was not promoted here because they considered women as only childbearing person. Okay, so they promoted the relation between man and man, old man with younger man. Quite unique, yeah. Okay, I get it. Now we are going to discuss about the Peloponnesian War. What was Peloponnesian War? Guys, see, as I said, Athens and Sparta were like very much rivalry. Why? After the Greco-Persian War, Athens wasn't very much limelight. It formed its Delian League, and many city-states were joining the Delian League. Similarly, Sparta also formed its Peloponnesian League, which worked as similar to the Delian League, as many city-states also joined the Peloponnesian League. Now, the Delian League was gradually turning into an Athenian empire. No, though it was not an empire, but it seemed so. And Sparta was quite jealous of Athens' power, the way it was getting. So what happened was that the first Peloponnesian was not direct war between Athens and Sparta, but the various city-states of Athens and Spartan ally got into a conflict which led to a war, and this was the Peloponnesian War. And the result was War was that Sparta inflicted quite a good amount of, um, you know, it basically inflicted pain on Athens. It destroyed little bit Athens, right? But not fully. Still, Athens was quite powerful. This war was ended with the peace treaty, which was to be lasted for 30 years, but it didn't. It lasted only for 15 years. And what happened and how this treaty was brokered was led to the emergence of the Peloponnesian War, Second Peloponnesian War. So after the peace treaty was broke down, how it was broke down? Because Athens got in a direct conflict with an Spartan ally, Corinth. Over a small city, they got in a conflict, Athens and Corinth. So this basically infuriated Sparta. But still, the Peloponnesian War, Second Peloponnesian War, was not declared yet. What happens next is that Athens then economically blocked another Spartan ally. Now consider this as a cold war between Sparta and Athens, right? Now this basically was infuriated Sparta very much, and then Sparta declared a war. It invaded Athens several times, but Athens led naval leader Pericillus. Now listen to me. Sparta, when he declared war, it declared war. Several small wars occurred. Actual war were occurring. And as I said, Athens had quite a good naval strength, and the head of this naval was Pericillus. But what happens is during the period of the Second Peloponnesian War, there's a little broke out of disease in Athens, which led to killing of multiple people, including the Pericillus, who was the head of the naval. And when this disease broke out, and after 2, 3, or 5, 4 years, the war was for a period was stopped, because I we can say that Sparta was like, oh, why to kill more people, because many people are already being killed due to the disease. But what happens is Athens didn't sat quietly, though it became a little weak after the death of Pericillus. It What it did was it again it again made a disastrous attempt to conquer Syracuse, which is again a Spartan ally, and because of which there was a full-fledged war between Sparta and Athens, and Sparta took in help with Persians, and Sparta took the help of Persians, collected the money, and built their naval strength, because after Pericillus, the naval was a little weak. Although Athens appointed Lysander, but he was not quite powerful and all. He was defeated by the Spartans, and when he was defeated, what Sparta did was that he blocked the food supply of Athens, and basically economically blocked Athens, like Athens used to do with other Spartan allies. Sparta did with Athens, and because of which the Athenian had to agree on the Spartan demands. What was Spartan demand? The first demand was that Athens should join the Peloponnesian League, and second was that it has to give its naval strength to Sparta. And this is what happens, and this led to the break out of Second Peloponnesian War, and basically the end of Second Peloponnesian War with the victory of Sparta, the Peloponnesian League. And Sparta became very powerful afterwards, but it didn't last that long, because as I said, Persia was growing, and gradually Alexander the Great, as we say, he also got the power, and the Macedonian Empire, and etc., and the history continues. So this was it, and I really hope that you understood this concept of the Greek city states, the Athens and Sparta's history. Now afterwards we are going to understand the of concept of philosophical thoughts and ideas of Plato, Socrates, etc. As I said, Plato, Socrates were Athenian citizen. Aristotle was not an Athenian citizen, but he lived in Athens for a brief period of time. So now I can guess that you can better relate with this as you know the history of Athens and Sparta. So thank you for watching. If you have any doubt regarding it, do comment it. And also sorry for my pronunciations. And see you in the next video. Bye.